Hey, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
We have a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to put disclaimers on things.
Yeah,
if you were
yeah,
on YouTube on July 4th, you saw a disclaimer come up right across the bottom of our faces. This time we're doing an auditory disclaimer.
Yeah,
And
which just proves that we are human beings and make mistakes too, but at least we admit it. Okay.
This is true. So here's our disclaimer. During this episode, you're going to hear us talk about something exciting that's coming in the future, but it's actually already happened.
It's already here. Yeah, it's already landed.
We have been able to launch our Patreon before we thought that we were going to be able to. And you can learn more about that on Patreon, patreon.com/how preschool teachers do it, and on our Facebook page and on our website, howpreschoolteachersdoit.com. You can, for as little as $5 a month, be one of our patrons and supporters and help us to continue to improve and expand upon this podcast. So when we talk about what's exciting is coming, it's already there for you.
Yeah, so go check that out so you can be a part of it.
And now the episode. Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide.
Hi, peeps.
Hi, preschool peeps. So we're going to circle. Sometimes we circle. Yeah. We circle back to topics. And we're circling around. And I'll tell you why we're circling around in a second. We're circling around to that dramatic play area. I was having a conversation during a professional development session and texted Alison afterwards. And we were talking about the dramatic play area, the importance of the dramatic play area. And honestly, we keep circling back because it is so very important that we, and that not only that we have it, but that we administer it well, because it is the seat of children's storytelling. And so it leads to future reading comprehension, socialization, all sorts of skills. It's a major hub in your classroom. So I was having a conversation during a professional development session, and we were talking about the dramatic play area, and everybody kept talking about their kitchen, until I finally said, why is it always a kitchen?
Though? Why?
First of all, a kitchen is not open-ended. You put a kitchen in, and most of the time, children are either going to pretend that they're home or pretend they are in a restaurant because they're in a kitchen. That's not an open-ended material. And I think this harkens back to a time before we understood the importance of open-ended materials in early childhood.
That's a good point, right?
But didn't it used to? Some people still call it, and I try to gently change it when I'm talking to people. But some people still call it the housekeeping area.
Some people still call it that.
And I'm like, is it called the housekeeping area because mostly girls played in that pretend area and boys were in the blocks maybe at a time when toys were more gendered than they are now? And so you would find the girls over in the dramatic play area, and so we gave them a kitchen. Folks, this is 2022.
Yes, it's 2022.
This needs to stop.
Please stop. Just stop.
Please stop. And there's so many more creative ways to equip that area that would be far more open-ended. And something that maybe is not fully open-ended, but I find more conducive to children's imagination, is instead of, if you want it to be like a home, totally get that. You're trying to create a home-like atmosphere maybe in your classroom, and that's the space where you can do it. If you would like it to be like a home, why don't you get the little sofa?
Get a little sofa, some pillows.
Make it like a living room.
Call it a cozy
Make it like a living
area
room.
Then. But don't call it your dramatic play area. You can, I guess, but maybe the cozy area of dramatic play rather than the entire.
Because the cozy corner is something entirely different. In dramatic play, you can take 4, 5, 6 children depending on the size of your space.
Different.
The cozy corner is different, so we don't want to call it that. I think the cozy corner is for one child to self-select to go and be alone. So So I was in a program one time, and they had in their really, really what I thought was a really cute dramatic play area at the time. They had a sofa. They had these two little, child-sized chairs, and they had little
How
lamps
cute.
and little tables, and it looked just like anybody's tiny little living room. And over the thing I loved the best, though, over the sofa, they took the pictures that the family sent in when they said
Yeah.
send family pictures, like a lot of programs do, send family pictures, and they put up your family pictures somewhere on a family tree. Instead of doing that, what they did was they took those family pictures and they put them up in frames over
so
their
cute.
tiny little sofa.
Aww,
Right? It looked like anybody's living room.
Nice.
It was adorable.
Oh, that's really nice. Yeah.
It was truly adorable. And the kids loved it over there, and they would go over and look at their family pictures and proudly sit on the sofa under their family pictures. Um, and it did lend itself. Even more open-ended, though, if you, Allison, were to think even more open-ended, what would you put over there?
If I was going to do full open-ended, I would have them build the dramatic play area themselves. Which I saw at a school once, and I never even thought to do it. I was visiting a school once, and they had these really large blocks. By large, I mean like massively large blocks, but in different sizes. And they would have to build the sink if they wanted a kitchen. They had to build the sink, build the stove, build the cabinets if that's what they wanted. But then they would deconstruct it, and the next day somebody might say, "Hey, I want to build a grocery store." And they would have to build the cash register. And then it was fully all in their imagination, because the sink is not a sink. It's what they needed to create the dramatic play that was in their mind. So if some of them were like, "I want a really big sink because I made a restaurant," or we're washing, they would go in there and they would like pretend to wash like dolls and stuff. And they were at like there was one that made it into like a veterinary office, and there was a grooming section. It was amazing to see what these kids would build, but it was all in their head first, fully open-ended. There was no right or wrong answer. It was like, if you could build it, you could have it, and some kids would build things that weren't even really things, and it was amazing. And they will come. It was amazing. I've never seen that at any other center I've ever been to. It was just this one place. It was years and years and years ago. Granted, you need a very large space to do it in, and a lot of schools don't have that. And you also need these really large, massive things to build with. But it was so cool.
Yeah, but I bet you could find other things. I've seen a couple of things that were really cool too, and I want to throw these ideas out as people are starting their school year, because I want you all to really think about your dramatic play area. Are you boxing the children into an idea or two ideas? There was one program that I've worked with where the teachers actually said to me, "Can we get rid of our kitchen?" And I was like, doesn't matter to me. It ended up they had to bring it back in the room because there was no place to put it but the hallway. And that went against fire codes.
Yeah, there's always something.
Right? They ended up bringing it back in the room. But what they did sort of around and near this piece of furniture that they really no longer wanted was it was winter, and they created with the children a whole winter scene. They had, I forget what they put on the floor, but there was something that they put on the floor that made it look like an ice skating rink.
Yeah.
A small ice skating rink. And they had all sorts of things over there that would replicate winter, and they had the winter dramatic play clothes, and it was top notch what they were doing. Also, they created it with the children, which is important. They didn't just plop things in there and go, "Look, it's winter in the dramatic play area." They talked with the children about what they would like to have over there from winter. They collaborated with the children to make things. It was a whole big project for the class.
Where the dramatic play changes every month or so, and it's usually based on like what they're interested in, and they'll have like a little vote of like, hey, what do we want to do? And like, if we're going to build that, what do we need to put in it? And then I would try to either get those items or have parents donate the items for the month, or the kids would have to create the items for the month.
It's a nice way to loop families in to say, "Can you donate items?"
Yeah, even if it's like, we're just going to borrow it for a month, we'll give it back to you, and they parents always brought stuff in, and and it made it more like home-like, of like, it was items that the kids were used to seeing because they were real items, and they were from their houses. So it was kind of nice that way. Yeah.
Isn't that novel
Yeah.
that we're going to bring in the real items? Because we often don't see that in a dramatic play area. I also I work with many, many programs that use a particular curriculum that has topics for children to study. One of those topics, and people are going to be like, that's my curriculum when they hear this. One of those topics is clothes. And I have seen classes set up like a laundry area where they take boxes and they make washing machines and dryers out of big boxes. Like the teachers will cut the doors into them, and they make these big giant washing machines and dryers. And it isn't just the teacher making it, it's the children saying, when they say to the children, what do you think a washing machine needs or has? And the children are like, well, my washing machine has buttons, or my washing machine has dials. And they work together with the teacher to put it on there. And I'm thinking of one classroom in particular where the teacher just did such a wonderful job with the children setting this up. So she had the two boxes, a washer and a dryer. She hung a clothesline across the area with like plastic clothespins so that they could hang up clothes that the family sent in clothes that were outgrown, right? Fine motor. So she asked the families, please, if you have any outgrown clothes from your children, we'd like to use it in our dramatic play area for the next 2 months. She brought in small laundry baskets. They were real laundry baskets, but the smaller. Can I tell you how much fun the children had taking laundry out of these boxes, putting it in the basket? She put a little table over there. They were folding like their family.
And sorting
they were
and matching.
She had socks and things and sorting and matching and just so many lessons happening over there. She had them looking at the labels to know what size it was. She had them sorting by color, by type. It was
so many
lessons
done. Going on in just that. It's so amazing. What a great teacher.
Don't you find the kitchens are she is a terrific she is a terrific teacher. Don't you find that the kitchen area tends to be more teacher passive than that? They go over, they play, we may go over and say, I'll order some chicken nuggets, please. But it's not, let's create it together. So I understand, like, if you're creating a laundry room like that, or a laundromat, or whatever they create in these classrooms that study clothes. And I've seen laundromats too, where they have multiple boxes. They teach the children about the laundromat. And they've taken them. Oh my gosh. Now I remember there was one class where the teacher actually took them. There was a laundromat in the same. They were in sort of a strip mall. So they went on a walk and a field trip to the laundromat. They came back to the class and recreated it. Because these studies are, when you understand how to dig into a study topic, they're really good. I know that when you're creating like a laundromat or a laundry room, that may be counterintuitive to what I said before. It's not so open-ended, but it's not staying there all year. It's not the only thing we're going to use. Plus, the children are creating it with you. So in that way, it's somewhat open-ended, because you can talk about what they would like to see in that space, what they think is needed. Maybe you're creating a laundromat and they say the laundromat had chairs, so now you're going to bring chairs over there every day. And that has to do less with open-ended creativity and more with recall.
Well, and I think it's also like a really good way to do what's relevant to them. Like, I remember like one year, a lot of the children in my class got dogs or cats or pets, all at once. And so we turned the dramatic play area into a veterinary office, because they were all going with their parents to the vet's office with their dog and cat or whatever pet they got. And so they would be like, oh, you know what I saw at the doctor's office? So even though we couldn't go to the vet office because there was none near us, they still had the experience in their mind. And for the children who didn't have it, I found videos that we would watch and be like, oh, look, here's Mr. Rogers going to the vet. Like, let's go see, and this is what they do. And so
cool.
And then they'd be like, oh, you know what I saw? Yeah. We need this, 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 and this. We need bowls for the dogs. We need stethoscopes like a doctor would have. And then they were all involved in it. And it was like, it was like a way for them to like experience what a veterinarian does, because they were seeing it, but they got to really get into it because that was set up for them. And we left it up for a couple weeks until they were like, okay, yeah, my dog's been here for a month now, I'm done, and then moved on, but it was a way for their life to come full circle almost, like, and then we did a whole unit on pets and animals and things like that. And it was just fun. It's fun to do that. It's a lot of work as a teacher, though. You're saying, the kitchen is passive. It's there. I don't have to do anything.
Yes.
It kind of runs itself. For me to set up that vet office was a lot of work, but totally worth it. They spent so much time in there. They were writing things down. They were writing prescriptions for their dogs. And it was like cool. It was just fun. It was like so many little concepts going on in there. And I think that's the goal and the advantage of involving the children in it, is that then they have a vested interest in it.
How many of us have even said to the children something like, okay, we've had the vet's office for a while. Should we keep it a little longer, or do you want to change it? And take a vote.
That's a good idea.
And then we can talk about what we can change it to. How many of us have even done that? I'm sure some have, but I'm not sure that many people have. I think that we have to remember we're in their environment. This is their place, not mine. They get to make these decisions. The title of the episode is Dump the Kitchen. And I understand you might not have that power. Like in that program where they were like, we put the kitchen in the hallway because there was no other place. They told us we had to bring it back in the classroom. And I said to them, oh, okay. And they said, it was funny. The teachers were like, can we just turn it to the wall? I said, you can't. It's in the room. It has to be accessible to the children. So you can't just turn it to the wall. But they did move it into another area of the dramatic play area and set up what they wanted. So I know that you may not have the power to dump the kitchen. Your director or principal might say, that kitchen cost us a lot of money. You're keeping it in this room. Totally get it. But what else can you do over there? How can you sideline the kitchen? Sideline the kitchen?
Yeah, like make it on a sideline. It's there for the children that want to use it if they need to use it that day. But then there's other stuff for other children to do too. So it's not like they're like, okay, the only thing I can do over there is the kitchen. No, maybe make it so like the kitchen's available for those children that really enjoy it or need it that day. But then there's also this, so you got both. Yes. And I understand that's sometimes a space issue too in some of these classrooms, but I think you can kind of work it out somehow to have both.
Well, we're going to kind of hand it to the preschool peeps to take the ideas that we've thrown out, the thoughts about voting, open-ended, creating things themselves for the dramatic play area. And we're going to leave it to all of you to really think about what can you do with this information as we head toward a new school year? What do you want to do to revitalize your dramatic play area and involve you all in, when we have children participate in deciding what's going to be over there and creating what's going to be over there, then they have ownership over the area, and they even will take care of it more because they own it. Yeah. They have ownership. There's something to be said for that ownership, I think. They created it. They'll be so proud. So I hope you'll take these ideas, add to them, expand it, run with it, right? And there are a couple of places that I really hope are sticking with us and will run with it that we're going to talk about in a second. We have Stick with the podcast, by the way, talking about sticking with things. Stick with the podcast. We have some exciting things coming up in the future for this fall, we think.
Yeah. If not before.
If not before. I know, if not before. But we've been very busy in the background. We're just going to leave it as a mystery like that. And we're going to recognize two places. Let's see if your place is recognized. Welcome to our top. It's our top 3, actually, that we're reading this week. In our top 3 of people around the world, welcome to people
Algeria.
Who are in Algeria.
Hi,
how cool is that?
It's super cool.
Welcome, Algeria.
It's so cool.
Peeps, huh? I know. Who would have ever thought we would be saying this? And then in the United States, Number 1 over the past week,
Ohio.
Ohio.
Nice.
Ohio. There was an episode where we mentioned Iowa. I wonder if they compete with each other.
Why do you think they compete with each other?
It's kind of where we live. Listen, there's a background. Where we live, there's some competitive nature between us and the states around us, like New York and New Jersey. There's a little bit of a competitive
for the people within New Jersey, for those who live in northern New Jersey versus southern New Jersey and central Jersey and all this stuff.
True.
It's very crazy competitive here. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I wonder if other areas of the country feel at all competitive with each other at all. I don't know why Ohio and Iowa would, but it just reminded me of that. That just shows you how little I know. You know, I'm a big believer in make yourself vulnerable and admit you know nothing.
I feel like I do that every week.
Welcome.
There's always more for me to learn.
I know, me too.
You know?
Well, welcome to the Ohio preschool peeps into the number 1 spot. Algeria in our top 3. We're so happy you're listening to us. If we have not mentioned your location yet, you know what to do. And loop people in before our very exciting pre-fall or fall announcement, depending on when it launches. So we're going to want to loop people in. We're super excited. And we will catch you next time. And we hope that you go back and you're so inspired to marginalize or dump
it's
that
so
kitchen.
Funny that it's always the kitchen because that's like the least likely place in my house that you're going to find me. unless I'm making tea, I'm not in my kitchen.
Okay.
So why
I'm not in my kitchen. If it was like a girl thing, a sexist thing when I was young, which is a long time ago. So if it was like a girl thing back then and we're going to put her in the kitchen, she's become so domesticated, y'all failed.
You failed.
That's not me. You failed.
I'm in the kitchen to make hot tea all the time, but cooking, not so much. No,
thanks.
I'll cook a little bit. I can do a crock pot. I do a good crock pot. But the rest of it, not so much. Yeah.
And there you go. All right, peeps, you go back and ponder your own use of the kitchen, and we'll catch you next time.